Today is day 3 of the General Chapter. It's the first day of 2 days of retreat, a time of reflection and prayer. These 2 days are a reminder that what we are doing here is God's work, and that we need to take time to listen to God. To assist us in this retreat, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle from Manila in the Philippines came to join us to speak to us a little bit about religious life and about the commitment that we make to the poor. This morning he gave what I consider a brilliant presentation with 2 main points. The first point was that solidarity and community are lived in an intimacy that comes almost from instinct. The image that he used is the image of a mother and a child, that relationship that is simply there, the relationship that we see in Isaiah chapter 49. Does a mother forget the child at her breast? Cardinal Tagle was reminding us that this intimacy is what God has for us. It is the intimacy of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It is this intimacy that is our solidarity and our community when we talk about religious communities as communities of prophetic witness. We are to witness to that closeness that comes in the Trinity. The second point came closer to recognizing the power of the cross. When Jesus showed himself to his disciples, he carried with him the wounds of his body. Thomas wasn't there. When Thomas showed up a week later and Jesus appeared, Jesus asked him to put his hands in the wounds in his put his fingers in the wounds in his hands and then in the wound in his side. Thomas had to touch the real wounds in order to recognize the risen Jesus. And it's a reminder to us that we are wounded, but even more so that everybody in our world is wounded, and that to a great extent the solidarity that we share with one another is a solidarity of woundedness. It is a solidarity of healing that comes from recognizing this woundedness and not letting it destroy us. The morning reflections led to some good conversations among the confreres. The afternoon session moved us in another direction. In the afternoon session, Cardinal Tagle invited us to think about how culture plays a role in our thoughts and in our actions. He pointed out that if you take a community of religious, let's say there's 5 members, you've got 5 different cultures because their backgrounds come from 5 different worlds. And part of what they need to do to construct a community is to recognize one another, to listen to one another, and then together to choose the common road or pathway, which is the mission to the poor and the most abandoned. He pointed out 2 problems in the world of culture that can interfere with this process. The first is what he called alienating individualism, which leads us away from community. And the second that he talked about was the throwaway culture that Pope Francis talks about, that it's so easy for us to move on to the new and to forget all of those gifts that have been given to us that we would treasure if we weren't enamored by something that catches our eye like a jewel. Each of these notions of culture forced us to think about our own ways of relating to one another, who we are and where we come from, and how we respect each other. The day concluded with a holy hour. Once again, a reminder that we are here to do God's work, that the General Chapter is not about administration and accomplishing all the things that we have on paper. It's about listening to God, asking for His guidance, and trusting in His Spirit that we may know the way forward, that we may be true to our calling as Redemptorists, and that we may live the mission of outreach to the poor and the most abandoned with the confidence of knowing that we have listened to God and tried at least to follow His will.